All right, with that great, big, beautiful bill finally passed, let's find out what the hell actually it means, what is in, what is out. Eric Eggers, Government Accountability Institute, and also that Drilldown podcast. He is one of the most brilliant people we know, right along with his buddy there, Peter Schweizer. Eric, welcome back. How you doing, pal?
I'm great, Greg. Great to be with you. It's nice to be able to talk to somebody in New York City while it still exists.
Yeah, we're in trouble. You found out, you heard about that, right? Yeah, we got some issues. So, look, I'm glad this big, beautiful thing is over. It's passed. Are you happy with it?
You know, I think the people that seem the most invested in its success have done a decent enough job of, I think, trying to tell us, look, it's not perfect. Everyone's very honest about it. Unlike Democrats with Joe Biden's presidency, no one is telling us this is the best, most perfect bill in the history of mankind. They're like, look, it's not great. It's going to add to the deficit in the short term. It's got some problems. They weren't as aggressive and kind of taken out some of the provisions for migrant care, things like that. But at the end of the day, it does a lot really well, and I think it's important that we kind of move past this to get back to the focus on the rest of Trump's domestic agenda. So, yeah, I think all things considered, it was a 51-50 vote, so it obviously wasn't something that brought the Republican Party together, but it got it done, and, now it's time to move on.
What's the number one deficiency in your book? And by the way, why didn't they get rid of all that stuff? I mean, we got the majority. What's the problem?
I think you know the answer to that. Look, like the deep state exists for a reason, and the deep state sounds mysterious and vague. But the reality is, I mean, look at some of the stuff last night. They said, the Senate parliamentarian put back some of these provisions. The Senate parliamentarian is somebody that works for the Senate. So, I mean, Thomas Massey's over here saying the big, beautiful bill doesn't prohibit welfare for illegal aliens. It doesn't stop funding sex changes for kids. And the reality is that, while it would have been nice to get some of these things, they went through this, vote marathon, and everybody's just kind of throwing all these amendments up to try to get it to change. And so now you've got the Senate version. It's going to go back to the House. It's crazy, Greg. We actually just recorded our podcast yesterday with Jason Chaffetz, who's got a new book out about basically how much of our data is out there. And it's shocking and alarming how much our own government knows about us. But it's even worse when you consider how much they know about us with how little we know about what they're doing with our money. We have to wait to go through all these details to find out. And they're like, well, hey, how come that didn't happen? It's a great question. I don't know. Some nameless, faceless employee who's worked in Washington, D.C. for 30 years didn't want it in there. And none of the members of Congress that have to vote on this thing are plugged enough to keep them from doing it. So that's why.
And that whole, the truth is, a lot of people don't read the whole thing. I mean, it's impossible.
Right.
It's so big, you can't read the whole thing. That's on purpose.
No, it's absolutely on purpose. And so it's kind of one of those things where, and the reality is it's still not done. So I guess what I'm encouraged by is that somebody like Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, who was a no initially and who I think raised a lot of concerns about it, somebody like Chip Roy, who was against this thing, they ultimately end up voting in favor of it, and there's still more negotiations to happen. So, I'm optimistic that at the end of the day, it will be something that meaningfully advances the agenda and allows Trump to get back to focusing on the things that he was elected to do.
One other thing on this, do you think, what would you tell Elon Musk? Elon Musk is a very excitable guy. I still like him. I know he's fighting again with President Trump. He hates this bill. But what's the one thing, I mean, let's face it, he's a little bit naive. I am too. But how would you talk him off the ledge? Because he's going to fund this guy. He's going to oppose Trump for president. He's going to just oppose him at any turn. What would you tell him? How would you convince him?
I would say that you may not love what this bill that was pushed forward by Donald Trump's administration provides, but I promise you it's so much better than what a Kamala Harris administration would have done otherwise. And at the end of the day, elections are about choices, and it's not perfect, but I do think it does a lot that kind of cuts waste. Elon Musk, there's a lot of debate going on right now. How much of it is he really worried about the deficit and the debt and our spending? How much of it is he really worried about the elimination of these electric vehicle mandates? Tesla's had a hard time since he joined the administration. I believe Elon Musk, does side with President Trump on a lot of things, but he is a businessman, and Elon Musk has also done a significant amount of business in China. So, I think you accept the help when it's in the best interest of the country. I think Elon Musk's help to get Donald Trump elected was absolutely in the best interest of the country. And I think you're aware of everything else that happens, and you put everything else into its appropriate context.
All right, so we can live with it. We can live with it. There are other things going on, and, gosh. Yeah, it's the worst system in the world, Eric, except for all the others. I heard Winston Churchill once said that about democracy.
No, it's absolutely true. I mean, look, but I think what's fun about this is that at least the fights are out in public. It reminds me of Thanksgiving, Not everybody's getting along, but at the end of the day, we're going to have this meal together. So let's just see what it is. But at least Republicans can be honest and transparent, and I think this is actually better for democracy. Hopefully it engages more people in the process, and they say, all right, well, what don't we like about this, and why don't we like about it? And then maybe we can kind of come back. And again, I still don't think it's the final version, so we'll see what the House does to it. So it's their turn now, and I'm sure the Senate's just glad to be done with it.
All right, hey, I want you to weigh in on this if you don't mind. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the assassination attempt on President Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania. One thing I know and I've heard, and I think this has been confirmed, no discipline has been delivered to anybody in the Secret Service. No suspensions, no terminations. Those they want to suspend have lawyered up, and they can't suspend them for the time being. It drives me a little bit crazy. The whole damn thing should have been turned upside down. Possibly the protective function should have been turned over to the military. I really believe that. This is the most dysfunctional agency in the world when you read these reports. I'm very frustrated that more hasn't been done, and I'm worried for the president. Are you?
I'm not worried for the president now, but I do think it's alarming and shocking, not just everything you just said about the lack of accountability for the failures of the Secret Service. I think the lack of curiosity about how we were able even to get to that point in the first place. Our friend Susan Crabtree has done an amazing job of documenting this story, and but she's one of the few that has taken this issue and this story as seriously as I think we all should as a country. We've known a lot more. We knew everything there was to know about the guy that shot the United Healthcare worker within 48 hours, and we know so incredibly little still about the person who took shots at Donald Trump and all the circumstances surrounding it. There were some vague references to Iran bank accounts, and it got memory hold and disappeared. And I think there's got to be a reason for that. We actually have talked to Gerald Posner, who wrote the definitive book about the JFK assassination. I can't say I agree with his conclusion about the JFK assassination, but here's a guy who looked at all that stuff and said, no, I don't think any conspiracy existed with JFK. He could not and did not say that about what happened with Donald Trump. So whether it's failures internally with the Secret Service, whether it's failures within the intelligence community or the Department of Justice community to follow up, how come we still don't know what motivated this kid? How come that hasn't been told at a higher level? There's a lot of very real concerns about it. But, Donald Trump, to his credit, just refuses to be beaten by these things, and he exists kind of above it all. And I think he'll continue to do that.
Gerald Posner, I know that guy. Really, that Case Closed was an important book. And same here. I don't believe the conclusion, but great journalism and research. Hey, do me a favor. Listen to this. This is about President Trump's polling, his poll data, and it's from CNN of all people. You ready with that one? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to look at the strongly approved numbers. So this isn't just Republicans who like Donald Trump. This is Republicans who love Donald Trump, and he's up like a rocket. Look at this. In July 2017, the strongly approved was 53%. That's pretty good. But look at where he is now. 63% of Republicans strongly approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing about 5 months into his presidency. Republicans love Donald Trump the way that Americans love Disney World. The bottom line is 63%. That is a huge base, and of course, it's just part of a Republican base in which about 90% of them overall approve of him, including the somewhat approves as well.
I mean, every politician would like this number here, especially to see it go up. How about compared to other presidents who were Republicans?
Yeah, it's history making. It's history making. What are we talking about here? So why don't we look back? We have all the presidents, Republican presidents, going back over the last 35, 36, 37 years. What are we talking about? GOP, who strongly approved 5 months in. Look at this. George H.W. Bush, Bush 41, 46%. Bush 43, 59. You see Trump, the first term, 53. But look at this, 63%. He beats all the other Republicans on the board here. And I was looking even back since Reagan. And get this, Donald Trump beats Ronald Reagan when it comes to the strongly approved 5 months. And, of course, Reagan was coming off that high after that assassination attempt. So the bottom line is Donald Trump is making history with the Republican base. He is more beloved by this Republican base than any Republican base loved any GOP president 5 months in. It is history making.
That's wild. Good for him. I love it, and he deserves it. Eric, those numbers, they tickle me, actually, when you think about all that he's up against.
Well, not to be too simple about it, but what's not to love, right? You got gas prices at 4-year lows. You got they got the Israel-Iran ceasefire. You got the stock market at record highs. You're winning with the Supreme Court on things like activist judges and even birthright citizenship. And, even Africa has found a new level of peace with the Rwanda and Congo peace deal. And, and that's, by the way, those are all things that are happening without the support or the cheering on of the mainstream legacy media. So I think the fact that Donald Trump continues to just win, and it's like, he picks the right side of things. And, there's one thing you got to give him credit for. He knows his audience, right? He had a lot of success when he was in reality TV. And I read this quote, and I thought it was actually really funny because he was talking about our country, and he goes, 6 months ago we were cold as ice, and now we're just so hot. Our country is hot, and he was saying it in the context of our precise, and successful strike on the Iranian nuclear facilities. And I thought, that's one way to describe a military victory, Mr. President. We're hot right now. But it's true, and I think it's just he's the vibes president. Donald Trump has aura for days, and the Republican constituency can't get enough of it.
No, it really is great. It's fun to be watching all this stuff and to be involved. Zoron Mandami, I would love to get your thoughts on this guy. Just look, this to me is textbook communism. What he says right here, you got to listen closely. First, you throw some anti-Israel stuff, but he wraps up with something that I believe is purely communist. Go ahead with cut 4 if you don't mind, Carlos.
We have to continue to elect more socialists, and we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. There are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right, or whether it's the end goal of seizing the means of production.
The end goal of seizing the means of production. That's not socialism, that's communism, isn't it?
That's the way I read it. That's how we learned it in high school. This is the Mamdani thing is like my favorite thing right now. I know you got a lot of people listening to you in New York. They may care that the Knicks just signed Jordan Clarkson, but I'm so interested in what's happening with the Democratic Party. And I mean, the Mamdani candidacy is like the potential strikes on Iran within the Republican Party because it's divisive, and I think it's very instructive. What Mamdani's candidacy ultimately represents is a rejection of leftist governance, right? I mean, people are supporting him not because they love the way New York City has been run by Democrats, but it's because of how bad it is. New York City's got higher crime post-pandemic. The rest of the country's seen crime go down. Their economy's gone down. The rest of the country's seen their economy recover. And it's because of the leftist policies have failed New York just as they've failed in California. And so what he actually represents is people saying, I don't like the way Democrats are doing it. He's positioned it as we're going to bring you economic relief. What people who support Mamdani don't realize is ultimately, to that clip, he is just communism. And so what mainstream Democrats realize is this is like the little treat that Democrats always want to run to, and you can always make blue areas like New York City more socialist, as they're attempting to do now, but candidates like that never turn Republican areas blue. And so I think that people realize this is a real struggle for what the Democrat Party is going to represent going into the midterms. And I hate to say this, Greg, because I love you, even though you give me zero heads up when I'm about to come on your radio show, I love you. I hate what's going to happen for New York City, but it could be good for the country to see New York City fail so spectacularly under Mamdani mayorship.
Well, I'm sorry. Next time we'll send you an invitation 6 weeks ahead of time. I'll have my I'll have my courier drop by. Look, you're in Tallahassee, Florida, all right? Some of I know good from we live here, and we're not going down without a fight. And I think this guy's going to be. I think this guy is beatable. I really do. So we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
I agree with you. I agree with you, by the way, because I think and that's another thing that I'm really fascinated to watch is Mamdani may be this uniquely unifying figure, not just for Democrats, but for like the rest of the city, because you're going to have so many factions that realize, hey, yeah, like I might be a leftist, but I'm a New Yorker, and I'm not trying to see free buses and in city-run grocery stores and communism manifested in my neighborhood ruined, and it's no longer safe to ride the subway and all these things. So I think you're going to see a really interesting coalescing of disparate factions unified with the singular goal of defeating what they believe to be the devastating effect of a future Mamdani reign. It should be really fun.
One thing you started fun. We're terrified, but we're losing sleep. Hey, one other thing though, I do want to point this out. Everybody's up in arms about the free bus. Half the people are not paying for the bus, period. I mean, I kind of get it. I actually take the bus. I love the bus. It's air conditioned. It's a lot better than going downstairs to get on the subway. But the way they have the buses configured now, and the bus driver is in that, plastic little cube, and he can't really talk to the passengers anymore. And it's become a real thing you don't put a token in the little box anymore. You got to have it read your card or your phone, and it's a pain in the neck, and it doesn't always work. And a lot of people are just being waved onto the bus.
See, this is what makes you elite at your job, Greg, because you are an international celebrity, you're a media superstar, and yet you can relate to the troubles of the common man with how difficult it is to take public transportation. This is why Jake Tapper can't relate to that. This is why you're great at your job.
I
do think that it's not about the bus. It's not about free bus fare. It's about what it represents, right?
No, of course. But every time somebody says that, I'm going to say one other thing that I know about the city. AOC just said, "Oh, we girls in the Bronx eat Queens boys for breakfast." Well, I don't think she's ever been to Hollis, Queens. She wouldn't be saying that. I don't think Run DMC can be eaten for breakfast. But the other thing is, part of her district represents Queens. What a silly woman. I think she literally forgot. She probably literally forgot that. She spends so little time in the district. Anyway, pal, I appreciate it. International celebrity that I am, I never forget Eric. Just in time. You never forget little old Eric and little old Tallahassee, and that's what makes you a man of the people, Greg. Eric Eggers, you are a superstar. Everybody's got to go to the Drilldown podcast. Check it out. Peter Schweizer's there is there as well. And thanks, Eric. All the best.